Hello, everyone. I'm Andrew Harvey, and I'm in a state of great joy because I'm speaking, and I will be speaking to somebody I love and admire from the depths of my heart. And I'm speaking about her extraordinary book, which is called Whispers from the Wild, an invitation, stories from the rescued wild animals of EarthFire Institute. I'm speaking to Susan Eirich, Eirich. And I want to read you her wonderful biography of herself. I wish I had ever had the gumption or the poetry to write something as beautiful about myself, because this is truly who you are, what you stand for, what you've done. It's so amazing. It begins rather sort of practically, but it expands in ways that you'll see, and that will help you meet this wonderful person. Susan B. Eirich, PhD, I love that, is a licensed psychologist, biologist, and practical visionary. Keep those two words in your mind because that's exactly what she is, and that's why this book is so amazing. Her goal has always been to see through others' eyes as a way to enhance understanding between cultures, people, and species. I just want you to hear that again because it's a great clue to my own experience, Susan. I have met her many times. We've had the deepest conversations. We loved each other from the very beginning. But what I noticed about her, most of all, was her extraordinary humility and her deep attention to the other. None of what Susan does is about her. This book is not about her. What it is about the vision that comes to those who listen, who watch, who love, who attend, who see through others' eyes as a way to enhance understanding between cultures, peoples, and species. She blends animal and human psychology into an eco-psychology and spiritual ecology perspective. What Susan is doing, and those are big fancy words, but what Susan is doing really, and this makes her one of the great teachers on the planet and one of the great witnesses to a new reality being born right now. What Susan is doing is experiencing herself radical embodiment through the grace of communion with nature and especially with the souls and hearts and bodies of animals. She herself is coming into a new unity, a unity of heart, mind, soul, and very much and marvelously body. The unity that is both totally extraordinary, but actually also completely ordinary, the reality of what we are as human beings. We are nothing less than the living icon of God, heart, mind, soul, and body. We are divine. And what she has discovered for herself out of the agony and ecstasy of her love for animals, an agony because they're being destroyed, killed, murdered, treated abominably, but an ecstasy, sober, practical ecstasy, very much like her, an ecstasy that rises from knowing, loving and being loved by animals helps one to enter the true dream of love, which is to see us completely present, heart, mind, soul, and body in radical total relationship of love and compassion and gratitude and awe with everything that exists. This goes beyond religion. This has nothing to do with whether you're a Muslim or a Catholic or a Hindu. This has to do whether you are really human, whether you have really faith, the compassion, the curiosity, the rapture before creation that belongs to a human being. She states, after founding EarthFire Institute, which we'll be talking about, but I want just to share this from the second paragraph of her biography, because this is a great clue too to who Susan is and to what this extraordinary, unique book is celebrating and actually initiating the reader who is lucky enough to read it into, because it's written by a great poet. And I don't use those words. You know me. I very rarely use those kinds of words because for me, great poetry is the ultimate kind of human achievement with great music. But what this book is written with is truly great poetry. And it's not only lush and exact and evocative and emotionally so varied and so real and so intense and so filled with love. Not only that, but it is absolutely free. And this is what makes it astounding as writing about animals. It's absolutely free of the passion to project onto animals things they may not be feeling simply because we want them to feel them. What Susan has achieved is a prose that enables all of us to approach the animals we love as extraordinary mysteries who will unveil themselves slowly and in ways that are completely unexpected, like in any deep human relationship, if you give yourself to them in wonder and profound attention to what they are trying to teach us by the way they act towards us. It's an astonishing achievement because prose itself, the way she writes from the fullness of her whole being and from the fullness of her experience, transmits the experience and instructs us without any kind of preaching how to begin to see what we are one with. And I could go on and on, but I just want you to hear the last sentence of her biography, because this is another thing that makes Susan unique. She's a great poet. She's a complete sacred activist, devoting her entire life to Institute. But she's also something who's doing all this in context of a large message of how we are meant now change and how we can and how the world will look when we have the courage and passion to do so. Susan, I have met her, as I said many times. The thing that always astounded me about her, and the thing that she transmitted to me, actually, many times that we met, she would say, look, I know how dreadful everything is. I deal with animals. I deal with the madness of people's behavior towards animals, and I see it in the local community I live. I've gone through the whole damn thing. I know we're in a very extreme crisis. But what I have learned from nature, from whatever Susan calls the divine, and from animals, and from the gritty but ecstatic experience of serving animals with her full being, what I know is that there is something absolutely amazing here which will not let go of us until we become it. She knows that. And that is what gives her hope, energy, power, passion, joy, endless resourcefulness to keep this whole crazy machine of love going. And what this gives us in this book is something that is truly far more than a book, far more even than a wonderfully written book. far more than an extraordinary initiation into a new way of oneness with things, wanting ourselves. It's a holy book. It's a sacred text. It's a love letter to each of our souls. And that is why I'm so honored and happy to see your wonderful face and to have the chance to talk to you about why you eventually did what I begged you to do years ago, which is to write this book. So I have to claim some credit because I did endlessly go on to you. You're such an amazing writer. We need what you say, and more importantly, what you are behind what you say. So, darling, thank you so, so much for everything that you have been and done, and the great spirit in which you've done it, and how much you've gone through, and how much you've allowed yourself to feel. Not just the agony, but also the revelations. And that's what makes you a true elder, I think, someone who inspires the hell and the heaven out of me just by your very existence, just by knowing you're there and doing the work you're doing. And it gives me great joy, more than I can express, to just to say to all of you who are listening, you may think I'm excessive about what I'm saying, but you pick up this book, Whispers from the Wild, you take it into a quiet place and keep it there and just experience what you will experience. You will be very, very humbled and exhilarated. I've gone on and on, darling, but that's not unusual. I just am so thrilled. I hope I'm making some sense to you. Why did you write this book? Perhaps let's start there. I can't hear you, sweetheart.
The answer is very simple. I just had to. I had to. Driven is a wrong word because it's a little too aggressive, pushed, encouraged, guided. I had to. I had to because of the incredible beauty that I saw and that I wanted to share it. I wanted to share it for the animals' sake, and I wanted to share it for our human sake. It's there for us. And we get so lost and so easily lost. And there's not enough reminders in this current age of just what's around us. The life, the irrepressibility of life, the celebration. Life itself is a celebration. And to remind us, there's this tremendous push within me to share what we could have.
What we do have, if only we open
right.
our whole
it's
being.
Right around us. And it doesn't
Right.
matter if we're in the middle of a city with a goldfish. It doesn't matter where we are.
No.
We have a sky
It's
everywhere.
everywhere. The presence is dancing everywhere, but especially and vibrantly in nature herself and in the glory of the animals, the glory of life expressing its unity in such foaming diversity. It's so astounding when you just open your eyes.
Yes. We live in absolute miracle and joy and beauty, which does not minimize all the awful stuff. But this is also the joy and the beauty and the celebration is ultimately, I think, will last longer. I think it's the essence of life.
God, yes.
The essence
It's
of life.
always yes,
Yes.
but it passes through terrifying no's that appear to do yes's work. I mean, death is terrible in the animal world. There's cruelty, there's suffering beyond belief, as in ours, but there's also freedom and unconditional adoration and unbelievable total love. Animals are so supremely gifted at loving with all of themselves at the same time, aren't they?
So I guess one of addressing that. So my first real love was a cat, but that stayed that was the deepest love of my life, and I was in my 30s at that time. But it stayed dormant for some reason. The pressure, so I know so well the pressures of life. I had to get a degree, I had to support myself, I had to get married, I had to get divorced. um, all of that. And then I got a second chance or something else, re-evoking it. One of the things I want so much to do with this book and with EarthFire, because is to help us re-evoke the magic that we do know somewhere within ourselves. And what happened was someone invited me to raise some wolf puppies. And when you talked about the love, the complete love, the ecstasy and incredible vitality and total abandonment of adoration that a wolf puppy has, and actually grown-up wolves too for their own pack. So that just did me in completely. I dropped everything. I was happy. I was pretty happy as a psychologist. I loved the work I was doing.
You
But when
say
I met,
did you in? I want to just stop you there, Donna, because one of the things that I know about you, and one of the things that actually gives the special quality of this book, is that there is a very scientific, very clear-minded, very skeptical, very BS wary side of your mind, and that you yourself had to both use it and overcome it in
mm,
the course of your relationship with animals. So when you say it did you in, to me, what I heard was is that it pierced the membrane of that mind. It baptized you in wild, holy life. It gave you freedom to breathe the real air. Because when you experience something that just pierces you with complete wonder and love, and you know it's real because it's dancing around you, then you know that you don't know so much for all you know. And I think what's so moving about how you wrote about your experiences is how you also allowed what happened between you and the animals to constantly expand your understanding of compassion and love. It's an endlessly unfolding experience, like any great
mm,
holy relationship, isn't it?
it totally is. It's like every
Yeah.
day is different, and every, yes, it's always unfolding and expanding. And I'm continually amazed. And it gives me the energy to continue. You mean there's more? You mean there's more? Wow. And what I didn't know yesterday.
No, there is this, you'll love this. It sounds a bit esoteric, but it's my favorite word, and I want to give it to you today if you don't have it already. There is a great mystic called Gregory of Nyssa who coined the phrase epictasis, endless expansion. And he wrote the most sublime and holy and beautiful things about it. But the fundamental truth that he gave us, and not just Christians, as a way of understanding the nature, beginning to, of the divine, was this. He said, if divine love is infinite, then the transformations in divine love must also be infinite. There is never any end. It's always going to be more. Once you've started the relationship, it's never going to end. It's going to expand infinitely. And the love and the awe and the wonder and the joy, they too expand in beautiful harmony with it, and they change you. You become a real person despite yourself. It's don't you find that this
Yes.
harmonizing that this love brings is an extraordinary subtle fire. You burn in it, and what burns away is the BS, the lack of wonder, the lack of love, the lack of joy, because you're fed by the reality of it.
I don't feel like it's being burned away so much as I'm being ever more filled with it. I'm being ever
Yeah,
more filled. And
I
just in
love that.
some strange way, it feels like I'm being increasingly filled with light.
Oh, you have really delighted my heart because this is what I myself experienced, and I'd love to share it with you. It's what is in my book, Radical Regeneration. I believe that there's a new kind of humanity being born right now. And it's being born far beyond all of the religions because they're all stuck and they're all intoxicated with their dogmas. And this new humanity is going to be an embodied divine humanity. It's going to be fully awake to the transcendent, to whatever you call it, to the spirit, to the presence. And it's going to be totally grounded in the very cells and muscles and groin. Everything will be real. R-E-A-L, capital R. And what I've come to understand is that the old religions are completely helpless because they've got this body, soul, matter, spirit split, and that has got to go. That's what the mother is bringing back, the whole vision, so that this new being can be born. There are two areas that the patriarchal religions have been absolutely despicable about. First is sexuality. They've cut us off from the glory of and wonder of loving in the body with the soul, right?
Yes.
That happens. And we know that happens. It's happened to me, it's happened to you, it happens. And it's transfiguring. So this is part of this great transformation. And the other thing the patriarchal religions have been unbelievably crazy about is animals, is nature. And they have, through their crazy they've divorced us, separated us from what can actually, if we reconnect with it, re-evoke it, as you say, begin to conspire with this great birth of a new kind of human being who is awake to divine consciousness, totally in love with the creation, totally in awe before the one of the animals, totally reverential towards every other human being, and totally committed to compassion and justice. That's the new human. And the work that you're doing and the work that you've laid out in this book so beautifully is part of that great birthing work. It's an indispensable stream of it because unless we bless our animal nature, we'll continue to torture it and destroy it. It's all about becoming one with our divine animal, with our divine transcendent light. And when the light and the animal make love together inside us, we are born a humble, new, playful, free being who gives everything out of joy to serve the joy they see as real.
Going to add the word joyous, but you did.
It's joy.
Mm.
But it's joy of the whole being, isn't it? It's what I feel from my growing passion and relationship with animals is that I'm finally an animal myself. I'm beginning to be an animal. I'm not just in my head. I'm not just in my heart. I'm in my body finally. And at this late age with sciatica, I'm experiencing that fullness that you've always, or at least you were born into and chose to celebrate in EarthFire and this book. That's what you're living, isn't it?
I can. I'm human with
Yeah,
failings, but as best I can.
right. It's not something you always have. You have it, but you know it's there, and you know it will reappear if you calm down and are tuned.
It's a background, a permanent background. And our bodies are complete, total miracles. And the more you get to know it, and all the wonderful books coming out now about the miracle of life and how intelligent it is, and what our bodies are made of, it's like you can sense it. And now the science, which is a good thing too, if it's not abused, science is a very good thing. The science coming out is absolutely miraculous about the nature of life and intelligence
I mean,
everywhere.
the whole of quantum physics is something, if you've had any kind of mystical experience, you're just completely ecstatic about because here it is in
Yes,
scientific formula radiating a new
yeah,
certainty towards us. It's amazing.
how we can blend those two is part of it so important. How we can blend the science and the mystical without keeping them separate, being the dryness of science or the narrowness of science. Science itself is really
Or the
well.
floatiness of mysticism either, because this
Yes,
marriage of science and mysticism is going to change both.
yes, Yes.
must change both. And that's why when you say practical visionary, and when you talk so beautifully about the indigenous people you've worked with and the shamanic tradition and the indigenous understanding, you're really helping us to see that this new world is actually the oldest world of all come back, right? It's our original blessing, our primordial pact with love, our unbelievable grace of being alive at all, every breath a miracle.
Yes. Every breath a miracle. And it's almost like we're on our way back to that, like we're on some kind of journey to get that,
Mm.
to get there. Like we started, or just feels like we're all aiming towards, we're all journeying towards something magnificent. Whether we make it's another matter, but we're on our way.
Well, don't you think many will and are making it? That's what I see. I see that in the middle of all this madness and chaos and obscenity and the terrible eruptions of this dark night, there are absolutely extraordinary people doing completely extraordinary
Yes,
things with full
there are.
presence
Yes,
and amazing new visions coming out from really wise, seasoned people
yes,
who are not in despair, giving very practical kinds of deep advice to how to weather
yeah,
a potential extinction storm. I
yeah.
think that's amazing.
It's like seeing further.
Yes, not just seeing further, but knowing further from what you already know, knowing that if you can
Yeah,
be taken as you've been taken and I've been taken in this life, imagine how we began this life. What little did we know, right? And we were stuck in a completely narrow, constricted paradigm. We had blessings from the madness, I imagine, of both of our families. But
mm,
then search, the quest, the devotion, the passion, and then the opening. So we know how far we can be evolved, and that the force that's evolving us is immeasurably stronger than anything we can imagine,
yeah,
right?
yeah,
I know this isn't your habitual language, but I know that that is something that lives as truth in you because I've experienced it from you. Just you're turned resolutely to the sun of a new possibility that you know is here already, that is real, that corresponds with deepest knowledge and deepest love, and cannot be defeated. How
no,
it will appear, it may be dreadful, but it's like sometimes the actual birth, right? But the birthing has started, and here we are. So let's just devote ourselves to the vision that you're sharing and live that and give everything we have and are for that, because that's our job, really, to be midwives, right?
yes.
And that's what you're doing in EarthFire, isn't it? Please just explain to people what EarthFire is and why you began it in 2000, just if you possibly can. It's like, I know it's like saying, can you do Proust in a minute? But what is the deepest dream behind EarthFire? Why did you begin it?
I began it out of love for the wolf puppies, and not just love for the wolf puppies, as I said, so there are 7 of them, for who they were, and they were opening, like you said, they were just opening. And when I saw that and felt what I felt, I had to share it with my fellow humans. How to do that? The best thing I could think of was to start a nonprofit where I could begin to write about, think about, share what I saw. Then, because of circumstances which are in the book, it went from wolf puppies to bears and cougars and bison and foxes and porcupines and uh, I have the animals here at EarthFire, which is located right near the Grand
The
Teton National
chickens, don't
Park.
forget chickens.
Oh, I'll never forget the chickens. They're a big
Oh
chapter
my God.
in my book. But so, yeah, so it expanded to the chickens too, because I didn't originally have chickens and turkeys, all life. And as I put in the book also, I fell hopelessly in love with a snail. So it's life itself and all these magnificent forms that I felt I just had to share. So EarthFire is about 100 about 205 acres, right near Grand Teton National Park. Actually, no, it's about 165 acres. And there we have animals that can never, mostly that can never be released. We have a few that can be released. And because I live with them and my partner lived with them for their entire lives, I got to see everything right through their passing. And the passing were also incredibly beautiful and important. And as you said, it's a constant opening, it's a constant deepening, a constant increasing awareness that's joyous, and whatever I can do to share that with my fellow human beings. So I founded EarthFire as a vehicle within our human framework, a nonprofit organization within our human framework to try and do that. And one of the focuses we have is, for lack of a better word, I call it reconnection ecology. It's helping us remember profound transformational experiences we've had, not shallow ones, not cute ones, not nice ones, profound ones, as you would say, that transform our very self, like for me with the wolf puppies, and for me with my cat 20 years before that. An experience that is profoundly transformational, but life gets in the way, or we're told they're silly and they're not real, but that is what's real. And so I'm trying to help us, and I say us because we all need it, to connect with that and the truth of those experiences, the validity of them, of the truth for ourselves, and the validity of them and how nature works, and to begin to learn how to live differently and act on them. From that place is really similar to your sacred activism. It's a variation of
same thing. That's it. That is sacred activism. That's the essence. You couldn't put it better. You're doing it. This is it.
And through a deep connection with whatever it is, a cat, a plant, a tree, a goldfish, it doesn't matter what it is. It's the depth of the experience that begins to transform you. And it's such an incredible, I've never stopped. There's never been a moment of less urge since I met those wolf puppies to do what I'm doing. It's like, I don't know if the right word is, it feeds you, it drives you, it encourages you. I'm not sure what it is. It's just, you do it. There's just no question.
I think it's true love. I think that's what true love is. It's like Mary Magdalene, when she fell in love with Jesus, didn't think, well, this is going to be difficult. She fell in love with him. She gave everything. She continued to give everything. It totally transformed her, because that's what love truly is giving everything out of amazement, isn't it?
And it's just if you want to be totally practical, it's good for the immune system.
Oh my God! That is health. It's health. How could it not be good for everything? It's good for the mind, it's good for the body, it's good for the cells, it's good for health. That's the key. That's the fountain of gold. That's the spring of immortality, isn't it?
In a sense, yes.
Yeah. And the animals are always the ones who lead you to that spring, because they are the living flashings of that water. They are so complete in themselves. And they are so tuned to the essential design of their whole nature. They don't betray their deep nature, even if they're weird or wacky, or they don't swerve out of convention or from this extraordinary unity with each other and with nature and with you, if you let them. They have instinctually, they're blessed, they're in a state of grace.
Mm. Yeah. And one of the things that happened was an increase in awareness of, so I think you can feel the same way ultimately if you form a relationship with a tree. Animals are easiest for us, but I don't think we need to put them on a pedestal as the only way. I think it's nature.
Oh, no, I think you can do it with fish. I think it can be done with, I imagine people could do it with cockroaches. It can be done with anything that you have a sudden revelation of.
Yes. Anything living.
Anything living.
There's a flow that happens when you connect with anything. And that flow, It's not like there's a tree or an animal or a wolf there and then there's you. What exists is the connection between you and the flow of energy that's between you and the information that goes and the nurturing that goes. And we're nurturing one another, we're reviving one another, we're refreshing one another, we're informing one another when you're in real deep relationship with something.
That's what love is. We're loving one another. That's what love is. Right? It's what I've understood with my cat is that I didn't understand anything about love before I let myself love and be loved by her because it's so complete and pure and total and it's so blissful and it's so respectful and it's so dignified and it's so rapturous all at the same time. And I think animals have such dignity and boundaries and respect that they teach you to have those. And that makes the love even more tender, even more exquisite, even more complete. And then you realize, oh my God, I am a divine animal too.
Mm.
And that is the big liberation. It liberates you from body hatred and sex hatred and terror of death and all the things that an obsession with the body and a denial of the body have made so rampant in our world. Animals lead us out of that prison if we let them and let our own animal love theirs and their divine love ours. And it's such an extraordinary revelation, isn't it?
And the love is permanent.
Permanent. It's beyond space and time. And I know that because I've had so many signs in my relationships with my cats that they are still with me beyond space and time. And practical signs, funny little signs, like the music they love coming on quite weirdly when I think about them, because each one of them had a different song that symbolized our love. They knew that song, and it's so strange what really happens and what the universe really is. How much love is eternal, cannot die, because it's not. It's the deathless force. It's God. Whatever you call it, who cares about the words? It's the Tao. It's everything. It's the central evolutionary love force that creates everything.
Mm.
What is what inspires you most from the religions and from the traditions? Because you seem to me to have gone through them, beyond them, into something that doesn't have a lot of words to it, but can express itself through the words it chooses. What is it that you're seeing and feeling? What do we need to get rid of, and what do we need to hold on to in the religions and spirituality of the past?
I don't know if getting rid of something is a good energetic
Yeah,
approach to things. I think it's more like I mentioned earlier, you start to get filled from the inside, and then the all the other things sort of melt away. Um,
I love what you're saying. It's about going towards the new, not demonizing the old, right?
so that was, I'm not sure what the rest of your question was. That's how
What
I,
do you feel now we need to hold on to most? Because let me just draw this wild curtain of them drowning me
yeah,
in sunlight. Mm.
well, I love you being drowned in sunlight, but then I can't see your face.
So
I think it's appropriate that you were drowned in sunlight. But
it's this.
go
But
ahead.
I remember one of our conversations, and we talked very deeply about how this was a time of the deepest possible return of the feminine, of the understanding through love and compassion and rapture of the absolute sacredness, the unutterable holiness of the creation and of one's own existence as a child of that feminine. And that doesn't mean the exclusion of the masculine, because it's I love the ancient image of the sacred marriage. It's the one, but it splits itself into opposites, which then commune and create everything out of the rapture of their love, of their mutual love. So the feminine is coming back to restore herself to the dignity of equality with the masculine, to give us in ourselves a new kind of heart, a new kind of body, a new kind of relationship, simple, ecstatic, comprehensive, embodied with everything. The realization of the evolutionary dream in God's heart when we were created. That's where we're going. And it's going back to origin consciously. You said we seem to be going towards, but we're going back to the beginning again in this consciousness.
Beginning, but bringing new information with us.
Yes. Like a fugue. The theme is played and then it returns and then it just seems to explode and then it comes back. If you listen to Bach, it's very much that process of returning to the same music, but hearing it from a different angle because you've experienced what you've
Yes,
gone
it gets
through.
richer and richer. For all I know,
Rich.
the artist is doing this over and over again. It gets richer each time. I don't know.
Mhm.
But back to religion, the thing that I find, I don't think of it as a religion, but Buddhist teachings.
Mm.
All of his teachings, primary teachings, were outside in nature and connecting with it. And it goes, I think the story goes that when he became enlightened, he put his hand on the earth. It was under a tree.
Yes.
So that's
And
the
the earth shook in the yes. It said, yes, you've arrived. You're here. Yeah.
yeah. So that's the closest for me, but I don't really think in those terms that much. I just think in terms of connection. I don't think,
I get it. That's what he did too. I mean, there's somebody I was thinking yesterday about you're having a conversation with a friend. I was having a conversation with a friend about the Buddha. And I suddenly remembered an old text. And they said you could tell that he was awake by the way he walked, and the only way they could describe it is that he walked like an elephant with absolute majesty and absolute precision and absolute peace, weighing every step effortlessly. So all of the words vanish when you in the presence of the thing, like you are before a great animal, before an elephant, before a lion, before a wolf. So that's no religion can encompass that. That's the state of reality, isn't it?
yeah.
Yeah.
And I said, don't think in those terms when the way I would prefer to live is not thinking at all in a sense. It's like connecting and then have thoughts arise from that. And then you recognize the thoughts and then you can take them and put them into words to share with other people. But it comes from that place. It's just a form of the connection that's being expressed.
Well, that's such a beautiful segue to something I'd like to do at the end, with your permission, my darling, after this gorgeous conversation. And that is just read to you in my Oxford accent, your own words. I just want to read something which I love. I think this is so beautiful. This is about Renard. Renard, a beautiful 4-month dream, it's called. It's on page 2119 of this extraordinary book. Call came on a Sunday morning. A kindly couple had seen a baby fox lying in front of its den, alone and weak. They placed him in front of the opening, hoping his mother would take him inside. But she acted as if he were non-existent. Unable to watch him die, they brought him home with them and tried to nurse him. But something was wrong. He wouldn't eat. Could we take care of it? Our facilities full. We had no room, but we couldn't say no. At first, we couldn't understand why he was abandoned. Renard thrived, happily destroying anything in the house he could get his teeth into, which was everything, considering his agility. He would start on the floor level, racing in a blur of fur through what must have been a fox heaven obstacle course. He hid behind the stove, the table, under the tablecloth, behind chairs, dashing from behind, rushing past our feet at full speed with a quick little playful nip at our ankles, then looking back to see the reaction and asking us to chase him, taking wicked delight at my ever-surprised ouch that was part of the game. He made it through spaces a mouse couldn't find. As he warmed up, he would start on the second tier, leaping from tabletop to back to chair to desktop, sending papers flying and cascading, and then in an ecstasy of speed, he would progress to the third level. Defying gravity, his momentum literally taking him up walls to the tops of bookshelves, happily showering the floor with long forgotten knickknacks and other things above my head and thus out of memory. And then the 4 months that they spent together, and I'd like to read you this paragraph and the last three paragraphs. The summer months passed as in a beautiful dream. We went for long walks, humans, dog, and fox. He, a whirling dervish of activity, leaping over logs and sage, dashing back to us for security and off again in a flash of vitality. Bonded to humans, he made hundreds of human friends as he went to schools and workshops, charming everyone and increasing appreciation for his species. In one class of 50, he went around to every single person in greeting, exploring their feet, pulling shoelaces, turning over and entering pocketbooks, putting forepaws on legs and looking up inquisitively into their faces. He seemed to take extra pleasure in life, partly perhaps because he nearly lost it. One day I looked out and to my consternation saw he was having a seizure, a big one. As I rushed out to him, he suddenly froze in position, completely rigid, the life in him gone in an instant. He was only 4 months old. 4 months of joyous life for Renard, stolen from death. 4 months of intensive educating of humans. An abbreviation of a life that only underscored the preciousness of our time on earth. He lived it to the fullest. I have never experienced an animal enjoying every moment as intensely as Renard. I love that. So amazing writing, such love, such joy. Thank you. Please, everybody, dive into EarthFire Institute, dive into this great book, Whispers from the Wild, and believe Susan Eirich when she talks about this great, yes, that's here. She's living it, she's radiating it, you can tell. So we're not making this stuff up. It's enormously transformatory. And this book is a great, great midwife of new forms of love. So please don't resist it, because you'll be missing something truly unique. Thank you very much.